It's time for your Low Country real estate market update. It's the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show. Brian is one of the top 1% real estate agents in Charleston. Find him online at listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. Or call him at 843-345-1273. Now, broadcasting from the WTMA studios, here's your host, Brian Beatty.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA. So glad you're with me this morning as we talk about residential real estate. We've been doing this for 5 or more years at this point on this program. Over 150 episodes here on WTMA talking about housing, things that impact you, the buyer, seller, investor. Information that I share, experiences that I share as someone that's been in the top 1% of agents in this market for the past decade, so that when it comes time for you to buy, sell, or invest in real estate, you're an informed consumer. And look, there's a lot of information out there about real estate, what to do, what not to do, a lot of advice, a lot of stories, and it's challenging at times to determine what is fact from fiction. What should I actually subscribe to? What should I use in my strategy of buying, selling, and investing in real estate? And what's just fluff? What's for entertainment value? And I want this program to be an educational program that you can listen to, learn more about the real estate market, the trends within it, and the behind the scenes of working with the real estate agent. You know, I want to peel back the curtain on the process associated with buying, selling, and investing in real estate so that you know what's going on. You have the right questions to ask. You have the right expectations set so that you can win when you buy, sell, or invest in real estate. So that's what this show is all about. Now, if you'd like to reach out to me, I am a practicing real estate agent. We have one of the top teams here in Charleston and the South Carolina area and the Southeast region, as a matter of fact. So if you're interested in hiring our team, you can either call me personally. My cell phone number is 843-345-1273. Again, that's 843-345-1273. Or you can go to my website, listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. A lot of great information on there. My radio shows are on there. Search the MLS, find out what your home is worth, learn more about myself, my team, what we do, what we sell, all that good stuff. Listingsincharleston.com. Also some great guides on that website if you're thinking about buying or selling. Just some good information on there. So listingsincharleston.com. What I want to talk about over the next hour is that the agent you choose to hire matters. It really does have a profound impact on both the success of your transaction and the experience that you receive when buying, selling, and investing in real estate. So I'm going to talk about how your agent can make a big difference, both from a purchasing perspective and from a selling perspective. I want to talk about some mistakes that I typically see real estate investors make. I work with a lot of investors, have for a long time, and I'm an investor myself. And I'm going to give you guys some points. If you're thinking about buying an investment property, maybe you want to start flipping homes, maybe you want to buy a rental property, I'm going to tell you some things not to do, some things to make sure you don't overlook so that you can protect your profit. That's what that's going to be all about, is protecting your profit. And then finally, at the very tail end of this program, I want to talk about how to handle multiple offer situations, both from a buyer side and from a seller side. You know, we still have multiple offers happening very regularly in this market, especially for homes that are priced well, in good condition, that are marketed well. And you have a motivated seller attached to it. You know, more often than not, in some of these price points, $300,000 and below, in most areas of the Tri-County, properties are selling in a week. If they're, if that. So you need to be prepared if you're a buyer. And if you're a seller, you need to know how to handle those situations. How do you get the best money and best terms possible on a contract without getting too greedy, shooting yourself in the foot, and missing out on a really good opportunity? So that's what's going on this hour on the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA. So let me talk first about how your agent matters. And let's talk about this from the buyer's perspective for a moment. Now, I was thinking about this the other day because I've got a bunch of friends that are attorneys, and I was kind of comparing a real estate agent to an attorney. And so you've got some agents out there that, they ask the standard 6% commission. Some do it for less, some do it for more. Attorneys do the same thing, right? There's a reason why some attorneys charge more than others. They have a better chance of helping you win your case. So let's just take a moment and kind of think about this for a minute, this correlation between an agent and an attorney. And let's just use an example. Let's say you're the defendant, right? You're getting sued. You have an attorney. And the plaintiff, the person suing you, also has an attorney, right? And let's say the opposing party is, they're leading the witness, or they're asking a question in a certain way, or doing something that should prompt your attorney to say it with me, objection, right? Well, let's say that your attorney fails to object and they miss something that's really important to the case. Well, as you may or may not know, if an attorney fails to raise an objection, they lose the chance to appeal that item later on down the road, which might be extremely detrimental to the case. And in addition to that, a judge is not going to interject and say, hey, that line of questioning isn't appropriate, or, you need to ask that question in a different way. The relationship between attorneys and the judge is kind of like the opposite of a football game. In football, the ref throws the flag and on the players, as they see it, to uphold the rules of the game, right? Well, if you're getting sued, or if you're suing someone, the attorneys, the players, if you will, are the ones that throw the flag on one another, and then the judge, aka the ref, determines whether the objection is valid. So let's tie this back into our discussion about why the agent you hire matters. And let's look at it from two different perspectives, buying the home, selling the home. And let's start again with buying a home. So let's say you've taken a trip to New York to visit your brother who just moved there, and you're seeing the sights, you're walking around, it's beautiful outside, and you're crossing the street from one block to another, and something awful happens, and a family member is hit by a cab that's running a red light. And they end up being okay, right? But you do rack up medical bills. I don't want to make this like a doom and gloom story, but you rack up some medical bills. You have time off work, you have rehab, so on and so forth. Now, your brother, who lives in New York that you're visiting, he's an attorney. And he's been an attorney for a year. He's had a few cases. He's won a few, lost a few. And he says, hey, I'm going to help you through this. And I'm not going to charge you a dime in attorney's fees. Let's say this accident becomes big local news. And you start getting, calls from other attorneys offering their services. And each has kind of a different approach and different retainer fees, different hourly fees, so on and so forth. And then you get a call from one of the most well-respected attorneys in New York, and he says, look, I'm so sorry for your tragedy. I'd like to represent you. I'm going to help you win this case. I'm going to get you the most money possible, and I'm going to do this all pro bono. It won't cost you a dime. So now you have to make a decision. Do you hire your brother, who in the grand scheme of things has very limited experience, and you love him very much, or do you hire one of the best, most well-respected attorneys in town that's won over 1,000 cases in his career, and they're both free? Both of them won't charge you anything. It won't cost you a dime. What are you going to do? Who are you going to choose? Different answers for different people, but I think the majority of people would say the experienced, well-respected attorney, right? Well, in a lot of instances, the brother, who's also an attorney, would likely say something like, hey, you should go with that guy because you stand a much better chance of winning your case. It's the same thing when you buy a house. Why? Because you don't pay the commission, the seller does. And you have to think about it this way. All real estate is inflated by about 6% to account for all the commissions that are kind of baked into the price. That's one of the, kind of sidetrack here, but that's one of the reasons why for sale by owners have such a hard time selling their house in most cases. Buyers are pretty savvy folks nowadays. If your house is worth $200,000 and you're asking $200,000 for your house as a for sale by owner, I would encourage you to look at it as selling your home for 6% more than fair market value, not saving 6% on the built-in commission. And buyers know this, which is why they're likely going to immediately take at least 6% off of your price, because you as the seller are selling your home for 6% more than everybody else. And if you get your price as a seller, then more power to you. That's awesome. Job well done. Just don't be surprised when buyers come off of your price by a large amount, because if you really think about it, there sorry for the tangent here, but there are 4 different kinds of buyers out there. There is the serious, ready, willing, and able buyer. They have an agent. They're not here to mess around. They're moving. There's no reason for them to do it on their own. They have an agent. The second type would be just the opportunistic buyer. They'll buy something if they find the right deal, but they're not actively pursuing properties. I mean, they typically have agents as well, and those agents kind of act as, bird dogs for them. And if they bring them a deal that inspires them to move, then yeah, they'll pull the trigger. But the catch is, you as the seller are going to have to pay the 3% commission to the buyer agent in order for that transaction to happen. Then you've got the bargain hunter, right? Think of these buyers as the folks that show up to your yard sale before you've even gotten everything out on display. The yard sale starts at 8 a.m. and they're there at 7:30. They're not there to pay you full price, right? So you haven't accomplished anything as a seller. You're only, not only are you not saving money, but you're also inheriting a full-time job for the next few months if you're selling for sale by owner, right? And then you've got the tire kickers out there, right? People that either aren't serious, they're not ready, they're not willing, or they're not able to buy a house. They don't want to waste an agent's time. So they just do the research on their own. They visit a few open houses. They go to for sale by owners. They're doing recon. They're not ready to buy a house yet. So as a buyer, let me tie this back into why the agent that you choose matters. As a buyer, work with the people that contain the following, okay? Experience, success stories, actual testimonials from actual clients, references from actual clients. There are services out there that, and I've seen this on multiple agents' websites when I'm doing kind of my own recon. There are services out there where if you sign up for this service as a real estate agent, they'll build a website for you, and it comes with pre-written testimonials about you, except that they're not your actual clients. It's just a feature on that agent's website that they're paying for to show the public that, hey, this agent knows what they're doing. And maybe from their perspective, they're thinking that, the ends justify the means. I'm going to give them great service. This is just an attempt to earn their business. So we're going to talk more about that later, kind of the deception that's baked into so much real estate marketing from real estate agents to try and get you to sign on the dotted line and hire that agent. There's a big problem in this industry with that kind of stuff. But let me get back to my list here. So experience, success stories, testimonials, references, a deep understanding of the trends within the market so you don't get caught in a neighborhood or an area or some specific home that just doesn't end up being the right choice for you, or it ends up being a poor financial or just overall personal decision. You want somebody that has access to off-market properties nobody else knows about. That's what happens when you work with a highly productive team that is prospecting based. And by that, I mean, and after this, we're going to take a quick break. We'll come back to this. But what I mean by that is that whenever you're working, well, let me say it this way. When you own a business, you own 2 businesses. So let me tie this into real estate. As a real estate agent and also as somebody that owns a real estate company, I am in 2 businesses. I am in the business of helping people buy and sell and invest in real estate. And I am also in the business of finding people to help buy, sell, and invest in real estate. And the really good companies, doesn't matter if it's a mom and pop organization or, Geico or, huge multi-billion-dollar companies, they get it. They get it that marketing is a huge portion of what they do, right? When you're working with the real estate team that gets it, that understands that in order for them to be successful, they need to spend time finding business, not just servicing the business they have, They can't compromise on the customer service or the experience. That has to be flawless, but there's certainly enough time in the day to also find more business. So when you find a team or a company or an agent that does that very well at a very high level, that's what grants you access to all of these off-market opportunities because they have a big database. I have literally over 250,000 people in a database that I have built over 12 years. So if you're thinking about selling a house or you want to buy a house, I'm not going to use the word promise, but the chances are extremely high that there is somebody in that database that wants to buy your home before it hits the market or sell a home to you if you've been scouring the market and you just haven't been able to find what you're looking for yet. So if you want more information on that, give me a call. My cell phone number is 843-345-1273. Again, that's 843-345-1273. Or visit my website, listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com to get access to those off-market opportunities. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk more about why your real estate agent matters when buying, selling, and investing in real estate. So stick around. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show right here on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA.
Visit Brian Beatty's website at listingsincharleston.com. The Brian Beatty Real Estate Show continues next on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA. 1250 WTMA. Expert news and views on the Lowcountry real estate scene. The Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on 1250 WTMA.
Welcome back to the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA. I'm your host, Brian Beatty, and we're continuing our discussion about the real estate agent that you hire and why that decision can have such a profound impact on both the success of your transaction and the experience you receive when buying, selling, and investing in real estate. Now, again, just a quick reminder, if you want to reach out to me, if you're thinking about buying, selling, investing in real estate, you have a general knowledge question for me, you want to tell me how great this show is, or maybe there's something that you think this show needs work with, give me a call, 843-345-1273. That's my cell, 843-345-1273, or visit my website, listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com for more information on myself, my team, who we are, what we do, how many homes we sell. A lot of great information on that site. Previous editions of this show, search the MLS, find out how much your home is worth. Anything that you want from a real estate agent's website is on my site. So listingsincharleston.com. Let's get back to this list that I was giving you guys on things that you should consider when hiring a buyer agent, because we were just talking about, the correlation, well, not really the correlation, but if we were to compare a real estate agent to an attorney, what would that look like? And so I'm not going to get back into that because there was a lot that it took to set that stage. Go to listingsincharleston.com and you'll be able to get this show starting, say, Monday. Or, of course, you can listen to the show Sunday at 10. It airs Saturdays at 9 and then again Sundays at 10. But let's get back to this list here. So we were talking about access to off-market properties and how a real estate agent comes up with them. The more people they have on the team, the more effort they put into generating business for themselves and for their clients, the more options are going to be available that nobody else knows about. The agent that you hire, their business, the core of their business, what makes it worth something is their database, their book of business. Some are much larger than others. I've got 250,000 plus in a database full of people that are going to buy, sell, or invest in real estate at some point in the future, or that have already done so. So if you're looking for off-market properties, you're a buyer, and you haven't really been able to find what you're looking for yet, or you're a seller, you want to sell your house, you just don't want to deal with having it on the market and having 30 people tramps through your house, give me a call, 843-345-1273. That's 345-1273, or go to listingsincharleston.com. So let's go back to this list. The next thing is incredibly important to me, and that's work ethic, professionalism, and confidence. Not arrogance, but confidence. And I remember about 8 years ago, when I was 26 at the time, I was sitting down with someone. I was talking about the complexities of their short sale. and how I could help them and what should they expect and how can I take them through this process unscathed, get them to not owe the bank anything, get them to walk away, sell their home, and just hit the reset button. And this is how things are going to go, so on and so forth. And they just flat out told me, Brian, you seem a little cocky, which I like. And, if you think you can pull this off, great, you've got our business. And I did everything I could to reassure them that I was not being cocky. I was confident in my skill set because I had done so many transactions similar to what they were going through. I understood the process. I know how to get somebody through a short sale. It's something I have done dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of times. I've helped a ton of people sell their home through a short sale. I've helped a ton of buyers and investors purchase short sales. I've represented banks. I have helped people buy bank-owned properties. It used to be a huge bulk of what I did. Problem is, there's like 3% of our inventory right now that's in distress. It's just not a thing right now. It's not a big driver of business, so it's not a focus of productive real estate agents. Now, another thing that I really want to mention here as it relates to hiring a real estate agent is, and I'm trying to word this properly because what I really want to do is just call some people out and be kind of heavy-handed with it, but I'm not going to be. But you just need to sit down with your agent. This isn't really a line of questioning to give them. This is more of a feeling, okay? And it's going to be different strokes for different folks, and I get that. Some people are drawn to listening to something or reading something online that says, oh my gosh, look at all of these guarantees. How could we possibly go wrong if we hired that agent? That's incredible. I'm not even going to mention the incentives. What's going to happen more than likely, though, when you sit down with that agent and you pick apart the line-by-line requests and requirements that agent is going to make of you in order for you to qualify for that program, you're going to end up saying to yourself, well, why in the world would anybody agree to something like that? That is just silly. I'm not reducing my price every 5 days or every 7 days. Again, different strokes for different folks. But what I'm trying to say is this. Listen to what this agent is saying. Understand kind of why they're saying what they're saying. Are they giving you so many incentives and so many promises and so many guarantees and so many, I do this and I do that and I'm the best and I'm the man and I'm so good at real estate. Nobody's better than me. Make sure you hire someone that takes the time to listen to you. We were born with 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason. Make sure that they're invested in your success. Make sure they're asking very specific questions about your wants, your needs, your desires, your expectations, how you like to be communicated with, what this move means to you and your family, what happens if things don't go according to plan. Basically, an agent that shows you they care by making this process all about you, not all about them and how great they are and how many homes they've sold. Now, some of you might not really care about what I just said. You want the agent that's going to give you the most incentives possible and this kind of fail-safe approach to selling your home. And, if they don't uphold every end of their bargain, then you get to sell your home for less commission or for free or, you get some sort of prize. I don't know. I've just never really done business that way. My business has grown through referrals. Now, don't get me wrong. I know how to market homes. That's where my money is spent, in exposing my listings to the market to find more buyers than other agents can find. And then in my own education and in my agent's education, so that we're the best possible option from a professionalism standpoint to be able to speak intelligently about the market, to handle objections, to be the best salesman we can be so that we can also be the best consultants for you. And I'm going to get off my horse on that, but just take the time to ask yourself the question, Is this agent approaching this process as if it's all about them? Or do they get it? Because it should be all about you. It should be all about the experience, how they can best serve you through their experience, through the resources they have at their fingertips, through their past successes, all of those things. Okay? And of course, when you're hiring an agent and you're selling a home, aside from all of those incentives and all of those kind of eye-catching, foot-in-the-door techniques that agents use that, in my mind, they're not unethical. They're not, because I can't say that. That's not a true statement. Is it okay? Is it something that I would do? I don't feel the need to. I don't think I need to overpromise, and I don't need to promise the moon and the star in the sky in order to earn your business. I need to be a really, really, really good real estate agent. I need to be professional. I need to offer the best customer service out there. And I feel like I do. And I'm extremely proud of my team for the experience that we provide. And results. Our results speak for themselves. We've done 1,000 transactions. Our homes sell in 24 days for 98.5% of asking price. 30% of our listings sell in 7 days or less. I could keep going on, but I don't want to turn into what I'm telling you guys I like to try and avoid. I'm not the person that beats my chest. I'm the person that proves it by walking the walk. Now, maybe that hurts me. Maybe that is a failing of my marketing. Maybe I don't market myself enough. Truth be told, I'd rather market my clients' properties. They're hiring me to sell their house. The better job I do, the more business I get. That's what I subscribe to. So when you're hiring an agent to help you sell your home, just like what I mentioned with regard to hiring the attorney that has been doing it for a year, that's won a few cases, lost a few cases, versus the guy that's done it 1,000 times and is one of the most decorated attorneys in New York. The attorney you hire matters. The agent you hire matters. And some are going to charge more than others. And it's going to be a reflection of those services and of that overall experience that you're going to receive. So you need to ask yourself the question, what kind of seller am I? Am I the kind of person that wants to pay for that? Or am I the type of am I the type of seller that I don't care about all that? I just want the lowest commission possible. I want that guy that's going to drop everything and, do it for, a 4% commission. And I'm sorry, folks, I'm not that guy. There are plenty of agents out there that can be that person for you. I just offer too much in order to be able to take a 4% commission. And my commissions vary. It depends on the situation, the level of service that you want. I do believe in offering a tiered program. I want you to have the choice. There is no one-size-fits-all marketing plan that helps you sell your home because everybody's situation is different. So the point in telling you all this is when you interview the agent, aside from all the other things that I could say about the condition and, all the incentives, I offer a free pre-listing home inspection and free staging and a free home warranty while you're on the market and all these different guarantees, commission reduction guarantee, home sale guarantee, we'll buy it if it doesn't sell. All kinds we offer that stuff, right? But what you need to ask yourself as a seller is, does this agent get it? Do they understand why I'm selling? Do they understand what happens for me when it's a job well done? Do they understand what happens if things don't go according to plan? Do they have the experience to say, okay, we're on the market longer than we should have been. Here's the game plan. Here's what we're going to do to get back on track. Is the agent proactive enough in their communication with you to prevent that from happening in the first place? It's a lot that I could say on this topic, but I'm going to take a break. And if you want to talk more about this topic, you're thinking about selling your house, you have questions for me, or maybe you're considering selling your home in an area not in Charleston, and you want to know how to properly interview a real estate agent, feel free to give me a call. My number, my cell is 843-345-1273. That's 345-1273. Or go to listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. BigTalker.com. Stick around, guys. A lot of good content coming your way right here on the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA.
Hear the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show every Saturday morning at 9 and each Sunday morning at 10 on 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com. 1250 WTMA. Now, here's more of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA.
Welcome back as the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show continues here on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA. I am, of course, your host, Brian Beatty, and I want to talk now about real estate investors and some of the mistakes they make that kill profits. I've had the benefit of representing probably 100 investors at this point. I've invested my own money into properties. I've flipped. I have bought and hold. I have been a hard money lender for the past 2.5 years. I've worked on developments. I've done all kinds of stuff. I've spent my own money. So rather than just being a guy or an article that you read from somebody that thinks they know what they're talking about, I've written the checks. I've seen the actual firsthand benefit of having a game plan. So let me tell you a few things that agents routinely miss or sidestep on that costs them profit. And look, investors they're flooded with advice about how to invest in real estate. And the vast amount of that advice is based on what you should be doing. Not a lot of it focused on what you should not be doing. And a good business person understands both the good and the bad in their marketplace. New investors need to understand both the upside and the potential downside of their investments. And the first thing that I see investors kind of making the mistake on is just not thinking outside of your home market. You know, if you live in Somerville, you're going to say to yourself, well, I only want to invest in Somerville because I understand that market really well. The challenge with that is that you might be missing fantastic opportunities in North Charleston or West Ashley or James Island or anywhere else in this Tri-County area. Now, I'm not suggesting that you say, okay, great, I'm going to start investing in real estate. Let's look in Charlotte and Atlanta and maybe some Texas properties. I'm not talking about that. I'm just saying expand your view a little bit more. Don't use your home city as this kind of safety net. If you're an investor, it's about the profit, right? Now, you should be working with a real estate agent, of course, that understands these markets, but we'll get to that in just a little bit. The second thing that I see people really making a mistake on is not having an exit strategy. Anytime you start a business, you begin with the end in mind. The same applies when you invest in real estate. A deal that appears to be a bargain at first isn't worth a dime if you don't know how you're going to make your profit. Remember that, it's a bargain for a reason. Investors are always looking for, distressed properties, but buying for, dimes on the dollar will leave you only dimes if you don't have a solid plan to make the dollars. Does that make sense? I think it does. Another thing that I want to, mention here is just avoid financing that's too risky. There's a lot of money out there to finance your investments. I'm one of them, okay? I am a private money investor in that you want to flip a home, you don't have the cash to do it. I'll give you the cash, but I'm going to ask for something in return. Or, you want to buy a property to hold it and you don't have the funds to do it. You want to borrow some money from me in the form of a mortgage? Great. We'll work something out, but don't borrow money you can't pay back. Know how much you can afford. Now, in the course of underwriting that request, I'm going to tell you what I'm comfortable loaning you based on your financials, because the last thing I'm going to do is say, okay, great, here's X amount of money. You owe me X per month. And if you don't have the ability to pay that back, what am I getting myself into? A really big problem as the person financing your purchase, because foreclosures take over a year. I mean, it's just a long, drawn-out process. That's a lot of time to have my money tied up if I'm not getting any sort of profit on it. You as the borrower, the investor seeking outside financing, need to have a very realistic overview of your finances. And probably the biggest one, I kind of wrote down a little list as I was on my way to the studio today. And the biggest one, in my opinion, is underestimating cost and overestimating profit, right? Everybody thinks it's going to cost less than it actually does. And everybody thinks they can sell their property for more money than they actually can. And here's the really big challenge, right? You want to start doing the work yourself. You say, hey, look, I'm going to take a stab at installing these hardwood floors. And maybe you do a pretty good job. But if you are the type of person that has not renovated properties before, you don't know what you're doing. There's this one show where people flip their homes and they do all the work themselves. And they're literally trying to figure out how in the world to install a kitchen because they've never done it before. But hey, he's kind of a handy guy and he's a boat mechanic and he should be able to do it, right? Well, the problem is this. First of all, you're going to spend money on materials to put the stuff in the house. You're going to take time away from potentially another income-producing activity to save money by not hiring a contractor. And then when you mess it up, you either have to rip it out yourself, which again is an opportunity cost because you could be doing something that produces income, or you're going to have to pay a contractor to rip it out, and then you're going to have to buy more materials, and then you're going to have to pay the contractor to do the work correctly. I'm telling you guys, if you do not have experience in renovating things, painting is fine. Good. Go paint your house. That's cool. But don't go and install new ductwork for an HVAC system that you bought off Craigslist. That's a bad idea. And I've seen it happen too many times where people get in over their head and then their cost goes through the roof. And now they're just trying to sell the property to break even. And the only way they can do that is by inflating the price. I heard something really valuable a little while ago as I was kind of building my business. And that is this. You cannot out-revenue poor money management. The same thing applies when you're flipping a property, right? You can't spend your way out of a hole. If you do, it's luck. It's extreme luck. Watch some of these homes like Flip This House where their budget goes through the roof and they say, oh my gosh, we're selling it at a loss now. What else can we do to build value to try and break even or maybe make a buck? And this initial, $30,000 renovation cost turns into $80,000. Well, guess what? If you don't have 80, then you're kind of screwed, right? Right. So just be careful. And the last thing that I want to say just really quickly is even though you're putting all this money into it, you might be one of those hands-off investors that says, hey, here's a great deal. I've bought it for a good enough price to where I'm going to hire people and I'm going to have them do all the work. And then I'm going to put the property in the market. I'm going to sell it. Make sure somebody is keeping an eye on that property. I can't stress this enough. A fellow investor once found his rental house just completely destroyed after the renter moved out, and three of their friends went back to the property. They had a party, kind of like a going away party. The security deposit had already been sent back to them. And it just presented this huge challenge for this owner where nobody was watching the property. They let themselves back in because nobody changed the locks. They had a party there, thousands of dollars worth of damage, and ended up finding, realizing that, of course, it was the tenant. But there are so many different spin-offs of stories like that I could share with you. Because then you also run into things like, you haven't been to your property in a month and it's taking longer than expected to sell. And you go there and you realize, holy cow, the grass is 2 feet high. How did I miss that? Routinely checking on your property is going to prevent things like that from happening. All right. Now I'm going to take a break. When we come back, I'm going to give you a very brief overview of how to handle multiple offer situations, kind of tease that for next weekend's show. So stick around. This is the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show right here on the Big Talker 1250 WTMA. And of course, if you want to reach out to me, my number, my cell is 843-345-1273. Again, that's 843-345-1273. Or of course, you can always go to my website, listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com.
More stimulating talk on real estate matters with Brian Beatty next on 1250 WTMA.
1250 WTMA.
You're listening to the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA and WTMA.com.
Welcome back, Charleston, to the last few minutes of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show here on the Big Talker, 1250 WTMA. I want to talk now about multiple offer scenarios because we still see them so often here in the Charleston market. And I want to help you better understand just the process and kind of the overview from both a buyer's perspective and a seller's perspective. We're going to talk about this in greater detail next weekend. We're going to have some guests on the program. We're hopefully going to have an attorney that talks about language in contracts and just the overall lack of experience and diligence that agents take when writing contracts and in representing their clients, and the profound impact that can have on you as a buyer or a seller. Now, from a seller's perspective, the first thing you need to understand about multiple offer situations is that no rule exists that mandates how multiple offers need to be handled by you as a seller. So it allows you to treat each scenario separately. Now, I can tell you what most people do. What most people do is if they have a multiple offer situation, let's say buyer A makes you an offer at 2 p.m. and then buyer B makes you an offer at 4 p.m. and both of those offers expire at midnight. What likely will happen is that the seller will instruct the listing agent, the person who represents them, to go back to both buyers and say, we are in a multiple offer situation. We request that you submit your highest and best offer by no later than 12 p.m. tomorrow. And at that time, we will choose only one offer to accept or negotiate further. It prevents the buyer from feeling like their offer is being leveraged to get more money out of the other party, so on and so forth. Here's a little tip for you as a seller. If you get exactly what you want or slightly better, run to the bank with it. I'm serious. Don't get greedy. I see it happen too often where sellers say, well, hey, wait a minute. Maybe we can pull a little more out of them. And sometimes you can, but here's what happens. The buyer might give you a little bit more of an attractive offer in the beginning, but they are going to pull that back once they get the home inspection. Once the appraisal happens, once the termite inspection, anything that they can do post-contract ratification, they will do to try and beat you up over the price. And they might be unreasonable about it. You know, there's nothing in the contract that says a buyer has to be fair with regard to the requests they make. Just like you as a seller don't have to agree to anything that they request. But if a buyer is going to overpay in the beginning, they're going to try and make that up in the back end. So don't be surprised when that happens. My advice for buyers very quickly is just to know how much you can afford. Don't overpay, because if you do, more often than not, you will have an element of buyer's remorse, and that will be a big hurdle to overcome, because that's an emotional brick wall that you're going to have to pound your way through, and it's very hard to do. Make your best offer first and cut out all that bonus fluff that you don't need in order to buy that house. We're going to talk more about this next weekend. If you want to call me and talk about this in greater detail, you're thinking about buying, selling, or investing in real estate, give me a call, 843-345-1273. That's 843-345-1273, or go to listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. Enjoy your weekend, and thanks for listening to the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show.
Join us for another edition of the Brian Beatty Real Estate Show next Saturday morning at 9 and Sunday morning at 10. Contact Brian Beatty online at listingsincharleston.com. That's listingsincharleston.com. Or call him at 843-345-1273. 843-345-1273.